It is a beautiful morning in the mountains of southern Appalachia. Me and Matt are out here early. I should say Matt's out here earlier than me. He's been bushwhacking all the stuff that's growed up on our bank. Mostly the top part's not as bad. You can see there behind me, but down low there's a lot of sweet gum trees and different things that have grew up pretty tall since we had Thomas and his good workers cut it all back. So Matt's been working on that so that we can get to those raised beds on the bank. This is a chore we really wish that we had already completed back in April when it was cooler than it is now, but again, Granny being in the hospital caused a lot of those things we wanted to get done just to be pushed off. So now we've got to do this so that we can plant those beds. Last year was the first year that we grew in them, and we really liked them, really enjoyed them, and they did really good for us. But what we had done last year, we put like some logs and old brush and stuff like that in the bottom to take up some of the space, and then put dirt on top of that and compost. Well, of course, what happened during the growing season was those things began to decompose and the dirt and the compost, settled in. So we need to add more to them before we can plant in them. Now, last year that was a really tough job. It'll be tough this year, but not near as tough as that, because all we had was a wheelbarrow, and we just pushed it up as close as we could, and then we had to put stuff in a bucket and carry it up on the bank, basically, and that was tough. This year, we've got the wonderful tractor, so at least we can get it close and then carry, instead of using a wheelbarrow to bring it from below the house and push it up the hill and then go from there. So the tractor has made everything so much easier, and although Matt can't get all the way up on the bank with it because it's so steep, we will be able to get closer, like I said, at least to cut out that part of getting the wheelbarrow and pushing it up here. And of course it'll hold a lot more than a wheelbarrow too. So I'm hopeful we can get these filled off, topped off, and be ready to plant in them today. While Matt's working on the bank, I was trying to clean out this bed in front of the kitchen window, my flower bed. The anemones have just about taken it over, so I've been pulling some of them up. Even though it's kind of overgrown, there are some real pretty things growing in it though. There's some dianthus, really pretty. Down here there's another little patch of dianthus, really, really pretty. It's got so tall though that it's kind of fallen over. It's just beginning to bloom, but after that I really need to cut it back. There's some really lovely poppies. Poppies are Katie's favorite. This is called Love in the Mist. Isn't it a beautiful flower? I planted it a few years back, and it just reseeds itself, and every year it gets a little bit bigger. It's really lovely. This giant daylily here, I may wish I hadn't planted it right here. You can see it's about to bloom. It's got buds all over it. This is the one that a couple of years ago, I took a little piece of from an old home place up the creek. It was just tiny, and I brought it back down here, and it's just the orange, the really common orange daylily you see growing by the sides of the road and in people's yards too. But last year it was a little bit bigger, and then this year it's just really, really got big. So this probably was not the best place to put it. The greasy beans that we planted back here behind the house near the kitchen door, they're all up and doing really good. They've really enjoyed this ample rainfall that we've had. Some of them are even beginning to run. The cilantro and dill and different little herbs that I planted back here in the back are up and growing. They're just tiny right now, but I think that's a good sign that they're going to do good because they're already all sprouted. Another thing that's up and doing good, this is the calendula that I planted in one of the grow pots. And this grow bag was the gazina, so it's up, coming up. And then the blanket flower, I don't see any of those so far, but maybe they'll come up. Exciting over here though, in these pots, most everything's come up. This is the alyssum, those little tiny, little green sprouts that you can see there. In this bag, I have candy tuft, and it's up. Have some globe basil in that one. And then really exciting in this one, those are dahlias. So I can't believe they're growing. I can't wait to see if they make it till the time they bloom. They will be so beautiful. Well, the day's about got away from us, and we still ain't got any dirt in the beds on the bank. Matt wanted to get all that cleared out, so he worked on that a lot. We went and helped Corey do a little job or two, and then we went in and had dinner. So now we've come back out. Now we're about to start with actually adding the dirt. That was what we was going to do to begin with. That's how we often do, though. We're going to do something, but then we've got to do other things to get there. You're probably like that too. Anyway, these back here behind me, there's two. Matt's going to start. He said we should start on them. And unfortunately, he can't get the tractor really close to them. We're just going to get as close as we can, and then we'll just have to carry buckets up. But the good thing is they are mostly full of dirt. We just really are just trying to put an extra layer of dirt and a little layer and then a little layer of compost just to help fill up some of the part that settled over the, since we planted in them last year and filled them up, just where it's settled. So it won't be like having to fill them all up, which is good. And hopefully these that are on down this way, maybe Matt can get he can't get up there with the tractor, but maybe he can reach up closer so that we can just shovel out of the bucket. We'll have to see if that works or not. Oh, don't. I'm too tired to chase your popsicle.
Yeah.
Well, me and Matt petered out. We quit. We're too wore out. You ever have days like that where it's just like you're going through molasses? Well, today it's like we're going through hot molasses.
Yeah, I'm got to the end. I'm done.
And we just both got too tired. So we got a layer of dirt in the beds on the bank. We did accomplish a lot, though. We're feeling kind of dejected because we didn't give out and just decided we wasn't going to put the compost on top. But we did. Matt cleared all this from back here all the way down to the bottom. So we did get a lot done. I weeded some in one of my beds while Matt was doing that, one of my flower beds. But we didn't accomplish what we wanted to. We did get awful close, though.
Went to Corey's and marked.
We went to Corey's and marked, and that was good. That got her situated. Baby's gonna be here any time, pretty much now. Her due date's coming up quick, and she wanted to plant just a few little things, so she had 2 little beds. We just filled those up for her, little small raised beds, and maybe she could put a tomato and a pepper or something, whatever she wants to put in them. But anyway, yeah, we did accomplish that. So, and when we come back to put the compost in these beds, that will be easier than putting the dirt just because it's lighter.
Yep.
So
It's just too hot. It's right in the middle of the day. It's too hot.
I think it was too hot when we started.
I'm too wimpy.
Well, it ain't wimpy. It's just today me and Matt ain't feeling it. We ain't feeling bad. We don't want nobody to think we're sick. We're not sick. I guess sometimes people in the comments say that we're the Energizer bunnies. Well, sometimes even we're not the Energizer bunnies. Sometimes we just can't do it. So we decided just to stop. And actually, this is our second popsicle. We've already had one popsicle. Try to revive ourselves a little bit.
Yep.
2 popsicles.
I don't know what I'm going to do, and it gets on in the summer and gets hotter.
Well,
you have to be like an old dog and go lay in the creek.
You might have to. The heat always bothers Matt. It always has.
I can't stand it.
I don't like. I mean, it's not that I like it if I'm out working in it, but it hurts Matt more. And usually, even when I got up, even before we come outside, it's just one of those days where I just can't. Everything I'm doing feels like I'm having to work really hard at it. And then once I got out here and got hot, I got what we call the weak trembles. If you ever had the weak trembles, feel like you're a little bit shaky. Most of the time for the weak trembles, what we would do, or what we always do, is to eat something, eat a bite of something. I had ate breakfast, but eat something salty and get a drink of water. When I was little, Granny would tell me to eat sody crackers, eat some sody crackers, and maybe take a sup of Coke or something, and that would make me feel better. And in my lifetime, what I call the weak trembles, there's really no rhyme or reason to it. Sometimes you could just be, going about your way, and all of a sudden it strikes you, and then it won't for a long time. And I don't know if it's a dip in blood sugar or something like that, maybe.
I don't know.
Uh,
I think it's a rise and don't want to,
maybe.
in my case.
No. Usually it's your body needs some nourishment. That's what Pap would say.
Yeah.
I have wrote about it before on the blind pig. I was going to read. There's other ones like that besides the weak trembles. Thinking about them, like if I remember one time Miss Cindy had this gentleman working for her. He was a friend of our family for years, grew up with my brother. But he told her, like, the very first time he ever come to work in the yard, he said, "Now if I fall out, don't you call an ambulance. You just wait and I'll wake up." He had some kind of weird something about him that sometimes he would pass out. And so he told her, said, "Now if I fall out," that's how he said it. So I've heard that one too. I'm about to fall out, like if somebody feels like they're about to faint. But this was from the Dictionary of Smoky Mountain English. Weak trembles, noun, tremor, general weakness of the body, anxiety. 1913 Cape Art, our Southern Highlanders. But old Uncle Nettie Carter, but they were saying it like that, went to jump one of his own teeth out one time and missed the nail and mashed his nose with the hammer. He had the weak trembles. Now that certainly give you the weak trembles, but I've not had them. I can't even stand the thought of that. If you don't know what that means, jumping the tooth out, it's how they pulled their teeth. They used a chisel and then they like jumped them out. Ugh. 1943, Justice Bluebird. When the old man went to the woods or the field to work for a good while, he always took along a bite to eat, not because he got hungry, he said, but to keep his stomach from getting the weak trembles, as he called them. That's more like like I was saying for us. Usually it can be, you can feel better if you just get something to eat. Yeah. And it's strange, because of course, hunger is different, don't you think? Like I've been like, I'm starving to death, but I'm not weak.
Yeah.
You're just hungry, but then the weak trembles is almost like you can barely, you're afraid you are going to fall out. 1952 Wilson folk speech. Have the weak trembles means to be worried. I've never heard it used like that. 1984 Wilder, you all spoken. Weak and wobbly because of hunger or apprehension. 1990 Cavender, folk medical. A feeling of general weakness associated with mild trembles of the body, known to 10 consultants. So it's not like you're really trembling like that, but you kind of feel shaky, like you got the shakes. I guess that's another one, if you feel shaky, some people might say. I think sometimes people with, I remember I worked one place that I was working, and someone who is diabetic, when they need something, like usually people will run get them some orange juice, that's a common, and I'm not a diabetic, so I don't know about the sugar levels and all that, but I guess maybe that's a similar feeling. I don't know, even as the weak trembles, maybe.
I don't know.
And then the other one I thought of was fainty. If you ever heard somebody say they feel kind of fainty, I feel kind of fainty. Now, I've never fainted. Have you?
Mm-mm. Not that I remember.
Mm-mm. I never have either. Corey and Katie both have fainted, and both times scared us to death.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people just do that. They just, like the gentleman working for Miss Cindy. He just, I'm going to fall. I might fall out, and if I do, don't you call an ambulance. You just wait, and I'll wake up. He didn't want her to call an ambulance because I guess he'd done been down that road before. Anyway, this is from the Dictionary of Smoky Mountain English too. Faintified, fainty, adjective, feeling suddenly weak or faint. 1952 Wilson, folk speech. This hot, dry weather makes me feel sickly and faintified. Maybe that's what's wrong with you.
Probably. I just don't function well in this.
1967 faintified equals having a sudden feeling of weakness when sometimes the person loses consciousness. That was Maryville, Tennessee. Fainty, having a sudden feeling of weakness. That was Gatlinburg, Tennessee. 1995 Montgomery collection. I'm a little fainty this morning. It's interesting when you think about all those old terms like that. But the most common one for us would be like to say, like, I've got the weak trembles. I got to get me a soda cracker and a drink of something.
I'm glad I ain't the only one feels that way. Apparently some people in the past did too. I thought it's just me.
I think it's a common human ailment every once in a while to get that. There's another one, like Dauncey. That's one that some people would say they're not feeling quite right. I love those old words though. And like the weak trembles, I would have never thought about that until after I was grown and I was somewhere and said that, and they're like, what did you say? What's wrong with you? What do you have? And I said, well, I just have the weak trembles. I just need to get something to eat. Just a strange feeling.
Yeah, it is.
Although we didn't get finished, it was really nice to use that tractor, wasn't it, Matt?
Yeah, if we'd have tried to do all what we done without it, I would have fell out.
Yeah.
Would have been in the driveway face
We wouldn't have even accomplished that much since today. We're both feeling kind of, I don't know, we're not really puny, just feeling weak for some reason.
I think mine's lack of fishing.
It might be.
I think if I went fishing, I'd bounce right back.
Might be it. I told Matt it might be that we ate too big of a supper last night.
Yeah.
We had really good supper, just it wasn't anything special, but it was really good. I made a beef roast just in the crock pot with potatoes and onions and carrots. Then we had, of course, a cake of cornbread and a thing of slaw, and it was just all so good, wasn't it? And when we had green onions from the garden, so
that's what made it right there.
Yeah, it made it taste so good.
That's what kept me going back and eating more of it. Was getting more of them onions.
And I'm afraid that might be what made us feel off this morning.
Maybe.
But yeah, the tractor made it so much easier as far as, like in the old days, which was just last year, not really the old days. We would have had to use the wheelbarrow to push that stuff up here, then carry the buckets, or then push it up the bank. So, yeah. It's crazy that that was just last year, and now we're both like, oh, we can't do that.
Remember back in the day?
Yeah, remember back in the old days, which was just last year. I told Matt, I don't know, one day yesterday when we was working outside, I guess, and we did work hard yesterday too, so that may have been part of what was wrong with us today. But I said about the tractor, I said, that might be the best thing we've ever bought. And he said, yeah, or something. And then he said, and it almost cost as much as our house, you know. But then I said, oh, well, I guess I should have said our house was the best thing we ever bought. So then I said, well, the tractor's the best thing we ever bought other than our house.
Right.
So many useful things, though, besides hauling the stuff that the tractor's done. But I guess the hauling is right up there at the top.
Oh, yeah. It's right up there. That and the teeling and
the driveway.
The driveway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matt's been able to keep our driveway so nice.
Every time it rains and washes it, about 2 or 3 trips up and down it, and it's right back where it was, and it's better than it ever was.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
We ain't had any gravel put on it in 15 or 20 years, probably, have we?
Oh, at least probably 10 for sure. But
it washed it all down. I'll go down and get it now and bring it back up.
Bring it back up to the top and start over.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been such a game changer for sure. We're really thankful for it. Very blessed to have it.
Right.
The garden, everything's doing good so far, and the corn's all up. And we're just hoping that the crows leave it alone and the deers leave it alone. And Matt said we needed to hoe it, but that sure ain't gonna happen today.
Gosh, no. When we start hoeing that, it's gonna be about daylight. And when it gets hot, I'm gonna quit.
Yeah, and then start again the next day.
Right.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. Kind of, woo! There's a lizard on the.
It was slick, wasn't it?
It must have been.
Hot.
Lizards are all over our house, but that one was on the end of the gutter and making this. I heard a noise, but he was trying to hold on. That's what it was, and then he went whoop and fell all the way. What is that, Matt? 10 feet, 12 feet, something?
Yeah, it's 10 or 12 feet.
I guess he's okay. He crawled off as soon as he hit the ground.
Yeah, I'm hurt him. That cat, on the other hand, might.
Yeah, Binks runs across him. It's not going to be nice. Now that once we get them filled, these beds, we're going to have to figure out what we want to put in them.
Yeah. Have to ask the boss lady that one.
I don't know. You have to help me think about it. We still got to put our Mississippi pink eyes somewhere. And Matt I had forgot, really. I totally forgot about it. But Matt was reminding me that in the big garden, in between the corn and the potatoes, there's actually room for something. We could put, like he said, maybe a row of bush beans down there. Put one like peanut beans or something that Granny likes, and that way Granny could have them. And then how we stopped the rows of corn about even with the blackberries that are left from my brother and the grapes, and then we put Matt made the thing for Corey, the cattle panel, and put the beans and the cucumbers for her Mother's Day. On each side of those, there's a square piece of garden that has nothing in them. So we have to think about what we're going to put there, or it'll just grow up in weeds, one or the other. We might as well use it.
Yeah.
We could try squash and zucchini down there.
That's what I'd do.
Yeah. And then Granny and Corey could share in it too.
Mm-hmm.
There's Mr. Lizard. He's going to try to go back up. See him?
Yeah.
He's right there.
Try it again.
He's going to try it again. So, things like, there's lots of things, not just the squash and the cucumbers, but, the squash and the zucchini, but a lot of those things you could do successions of, so even though we're later than usual, we've still got plenty of time for them to produce before the end of summer.
Yeah.
So, again, we just didn't plan on Granny taking a 19-day vacation. She didn't either, though,
Right.
of course, and she would have certainly rather been at home. And she's doing good though. She got her hair fixed this week, so that made her feel better, and she's doing good. I guess me and Matt hadn't even talked about it, but if we do her garden, that may be something we have to do next week.
It will be.
Yeah. It's real small though, so it won't be like attempting to do something up here or at Pap's big garden. It's very small. But we saved her a few tomato plants and a pepper plant, and then usually she just wants mostly beans is what she wants. So.
Of course, we'll give her a whole bunch of that corn down there,
Yeah,
too.
of course. She can have anything that she wants of ours. Her and Paul, we share with
That great
everybody.
big long row of potatoes, if they make good, she can have all she wants of
She'll
that.
love that. She's been buying her since the produce stand opened back up. Every week that I would take her to the doctor at Peachtree, she'd want to stop there, and they know us because we do this every year, and she's already buying her some green beans and new potatoes that were from farther south and making them, and every time she'll talk about how that her mother made those for her when she was a girl and made them for everybody, but how she loved them. That was just one of her favorite things.
It is awful good.
And really is. Well, then, of course, we just disappeared during Granny's hospital stay, so then the next time we were able to go, she didn't feel like getting out, so it's funny, this is actually what she did. She was going to sit in the car, and, well, no, the first time, I guess I've got it mixed up. The first time she sat in the car, and I went in, and the lady that works there says, where's your buddy? I've been missing you, and so I explained that she'd been in the hospital and all that. Well, then the very next week we had to go back, and she still wasn't feeling good, so she not good enough to go in and walk around and all that. So I went in, and I was getting all the stuff trying to remember everything she told me to get, which was green beans and potatoes and things like that. And then I heard somebody say tip her, and I turned around because I thought it was just going to be somebody I knew, and it was Granny. And I was like, how did you get out of the car and get in here? She said, well, I kept yelling, and you didn't hear me. And I'm like, well, how could I? You're in the parking lot, and I'm inside. Anyway, she'd got out to come tell me there was something else she decided. I can't even remember now what it was that she wanted me to get if they had. So I said, well, you might as well just stay with me now. Anyway, she loves to stop there, but once our stuff start coming in, we share with her.
Yeah.
She'll say, you got any of those Cherokee Reds?
Yeah.
She loves gardening and fresh food about more than anybody I know.
She does.
And that's part of where I know that I get my great love for it from Granny. Her and Pap both enjoyed it and loved the eating. And I think especially for Pap, he loved the knowledge that he was continuing, the work. I think every time he worked in his garden, it was like he was continuing the work that had been through his family. That's what he did as a child, helping his grandparents, helping his parents. It was like somehow continuing that work. And even though it wasn't necessarily their garden, you know, he did still, in my lifetime when they were alive, his parents were still alive, he would help them in their garden. And usually all together, his parents and him and his brother, they would go in together and make like a big potato patch or a big corn patch or whatever, and then they kind of all had their individual little gardens. But I think he felt like he was just continuing the tradition of feeding his family that he grew up with. And I know I feel that for sure. Me and Matt do. I feel that same way. Every time I work in the garden, you know, I can't help but think of Granny and Pap and all the years that they fed our family from the garden, and how wonderful that was. And even when I was young and drugged my feet and didn't want to help, I'm still glad that they did that every year. And it's such joy, too, just to be in the garden. Mm-hmm. One thing being outside, you know, in the beautiful world, the fresh air and all that really does the body good. But also, I don't know, it does something for your spirit to see things grow.
Yeah.
And then, like Matt says, his favorite part is you see it grow, like thinking about those tomatoes, but then really rewarding to harvest them and can them and put them in a jar and then take them out on a cold winter day, make some chili or something like that with them.
I love the canning part of it. I mean, it's a whole lot of work, but at that point, most of the outside hot work's over, and you're just trying to put it away for future. Mm-hmm. Knowing how good it's going to be, and I just enjoy the canning because I can remember it from when I was young.
And it's such good eating.
Gosh, yeah.
And you know where it come from and how it was treated and what it was treated with or not treated with. Of course, we don't put any kind of pesticides or anything like that, but you know all that. You know that it's just one of the finest things in life to go out your back door and then harvest something and take it in and eat it.
Mm-hmm. And to know it's that good.
Yeah, to know it's that good.
You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, something as simple as the green onions we had last night, which are so simple. You could just grow those in a container on your porch or something. They're so easy. Or something as more labor intensive as tomatoes or corn or green beans, because you have to, green beans, if you grow pole beans like we do, you have to have something for them to climb. And of course you got to pick them and break them and string them, and then if you're going to put them up, can them. But it's so rewarding.
Yeah.
And we eat a lot of beans, so that's one of our staples for sure.
Mm-hmm. They go with about anything.
They do.
About anything we're going to eat.
Yeah, yeah. I like that too, that's one of the, I think when I think about the tradition of food in Appalachia, of course corn plays the ultimate role, probably the top role. It would be corn and pork. Thinking about in days gone by, but also beans. Those would be your three main things. I mean, there's also winter squash. There's all those things. But when you think about the beans and taters and corn's what really sustained people. Mm-hmm. Kind of nice to know that it still sustains us. Although for the past several years, our corn has come from Mr. Tim down the road. Be really exciting this year if we manage to get ours to harvest time and
we will
get to put our own up.
You worried about it?
I'm worried about the deer and the crow and the coons and the varmints and all that.
I thought about, and I probably ought to go ahead and start setting a live trap down there on the creek, and y'all know I could catch several and just relocate them.
Yeah.
And get them totally out of here and take them down the road somewhere.
Yeah.
And that might
head
it off.
Might have to take them further away than Tim's.
Yeah, I wouldn't turn them loose down there on him. That'd be bad.
No, I know. I'm just teasing you. I know you wouldn't do that. He catches, I think he live traps every year and catches a lot because they can destroy, especially if there's several of them, they can destroy your coon. Daddy never had a lot of problem with coons, though, for the same reason that we're lucky. A lot of people ask us, how do you not have stuff in your garden, is that there's dogs in our holler that are well taken care of but free to roam, and they just roam around. Well, anything like that, they're going to, if you've got 3 or 4 dogs, they're going to get, in a wild chase and chase them.
Well, too, back then when he was growing it so much, there was some coon hunting went on here, and that's not the case anymore. And then they've really exploded and multiplied. There's lots of them.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see the tracks on the creek every time you go to it. I see them when I'm out and about in the woods, hunting quite a bit. It used to be you couldn't hardly see one. because people hunted them heavy back 40, 50 years ago, and they're just not hunted hardly at all now.
My Papa Wade was a big coon hunter.
Yeah.
He loved coon hunt. And there was always coon dogs here then in those days.
I've done it some and off and on, and I just never enjoyed it that much. It's too late at night. I'm a 9 o'clock in the bed kind of guy nowadays.
Yeah,
I don't want to be out chasing the dog in the cold at 2 in the morning.
We do know one young man that still coon hunts. Eric, he still coon hunts. He coon hunts up in here sometimes. So, but yeah, when they start eating your corn, they're cute, but they're not cute when they're eating your corn down.
And they'll tear your corn stalks all the way down.
Yeah. And over the years, we've never had anything kill our chickens because they're in a closed run. But the things that try to get in at night, they go into a house, up into their coop, and then Matt shuts them up. So they're safe in there at night. But at night, coons have, over the years, at different times, tried to get in there, not inside the building, but inside the lot, because they know that's one step closer. So they're sometimes a nuisance for Matt, having to work on the chicken lot where they've dug and tried to get in and out.
They'll tear the wire down and all that stuff, and I've got to put it back up.
When I've shared this before, but it is just so cute. Granny grew up in the country, not too far from here, but she just didn't grow up in the same way that Pap did. And when she first moved here to Wilson Holler, there wasn't as many people in here then. At that time, there would have just been 2 houses. And one of them's gone now. But anyway, Pap's parents, Marie and Wade, they lived here, and then Granny and Pap. And soon after that, there was a trailer. I don't think or maybe the trailer was there, so maybe I'm wrong. 2 houses and 1 trailer. Anyway, whatever, there was not many people, and Granny had really never lived this remote. Where she lived, especially right before her and Pap got married, was on the side of a road, and I guess more of a populated area, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Even though it's not in town or anything. Anyway, she would throw her scraps out, like the scraps left over from supper, or maybe vegetable scraps or whatever, where she'd been cooking supper. And pretty quickly, a coon started coming and eating, from her scrap pile. And Granny tells this on herself, that one day she called my Mama Marie and said, "Marie, there's some animal out there eating out of my scraps, and I don't know what to do. I don't know if it's okay." I guess Daddy was at work, and she said, "Well, Luzine, what does it look like?" And she said, "Well, it's wearing a mask." That's the funniest thing ever. Oh, it's so funny. I can't even believe Granny tells it on herself. I wouldn't. She said, "It's wearing a mask." Of course, Granny knew it wasn't really wearing a mask, but that's how she described it. Yeah, and so Mama, I can just imagine her. She's probably like, "What? You don't even know what a raccoon is?" No, it's funny.
Yeah.
Anyway. Well, you got revived any from eating your popsicle?
No, I've got to get out of this heat before I can revive any at all.
We'll have to take Matt into the air conditioning. That's another thing we was talking about earlier today when we was kind of feeling weak, and we took a break and was sitting down. We've took about 3 or 4 breaks today, and we normally don't do that.
Yeah.
But we said, what was it we were talking about? Said, I don't know, we were talking about Papa Tony used to have a boathouse, about going to the boathouse, and Matt said, "How did we stand that without an air conditioning?" And I said, "Well, if you remember, in those days, we didn't have air conditioning.
Right.
Corey and Katie was probably, 5 or 6 before we had air conditioning?"
Yep.
I said, so we were used to it. We wasn't soft, as Pap would say back then. But we're soft now, ain't we?
I reckon. I can't live without it.
Yeah.
I'd never had it
Oh,
prior
I never
to that
had
point.
it growing
Never
up
had it in
either.
the car, never had it in the house. And I don't know how we stood it,
We're just tougher.
I guess.
Tougher. Pap said we all got soft.
Yeah, I'd say you're right.
Well, I'll take Matt in, and I think I'm going to go clean up too, and we're going to try to rest the rest of the day. Luckily, with my good supper, which may be what did us in, I've got leftovers, so I don't even have to cook supper.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
We'll eat again, and
Yep.
we don't have as big a day planned tomorrow, so we'll be able to rest a day or 2 and then get back at them.
Yep.
We're always glad when you stop by to help us celebrate Appalachia.